Okay, Bills fans, it's sad, but I'm coming to you guys for some sanity. My Dolphins are in bad shape. It's so hard to be a fan, so hard to cover them. Fans are divided. You guys know, I see in the comments, it's nice comments you give me. We remember. So I'm coming to you to kind of disassociate totally from the torture, really, of being a Dolphins fan and just wanting to not have an emotional connection, give you guys some just straight football coverage. And as I was digging for this game, which I think it's not going to be as easy as maybe some might think. Flacco's in. It's going to give them stability. This is the best offensive line that you have faced. I think it's even better than the Baltimore offensive line, but not as big. And then the Colts don't have the D front that gave you some problems. So I think it's going to be a win for you guys, but this is going to be a body blow game in many ways. Interior runs, obviously the exterior, but dominating that A and B gap is what both teams are going to want to do. And so whoever, I think, I wouldn't say wins that one, but if it gets a large disparity one side or the other, I think the game can swing one side or the other. If it's close in the middle with the Colts running inside, because you guys struggle a bit with the inside run, especially against this offensive line, it's very, very tough. And then I think you guys are going to be able to run too. And if it's in that middle area, I think you guys have the edge. Cooper's going to be in. Allen is Allen. And there's two wild cards I want to talk about on both sides of the ball. As I was digging into this thing, though, I started doing a historical overview of Allen and the framework of the offense. I'm going to do that next week after this game. Very interesting stuff. I'm going to touch on it a little bit here. But this is a big, big game. You got KC next week, which I'm rooting for you guys 1,000,000,000%. It feels like the NFL is trying to give them the three-peat and the perfect season rolled up into one. They get so many calls. It's disgusting. It's gone past like, oh, that's, a mistake or just a funny trend. It's consistent. So I'm praying you guys win next week. My Dolphins are not in the running for the AFC East, so it kind of makes it a little bit easier. Anyway, guys, big game for you. You got to win this one. Get the mojo so you can go in and beat KC. And if you do that, if you win this week and next week, you'll be 8-2. And it's going to put you in position for a lot of stuff. You'll be ahead of the Ravens, even though you lost. I mean, things can switch. You'll have given KC their loss, and if it gets close, they'll be the tiebreaker. So anyway, I'm going to get into this podcast here. Let's take a look at these images. Now, the first one I want to talk about is this one. This is the one I've been working on. I'm not going to dig into detail, but it's a 5-year overview of what's going on with this offense in Allen. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that I found. I'll present my findings next week. But you could see 2024, your play actions are down. You could see being blitzed is down from 20, but it's kind of gone up from 21, 22 and stayed even with 23. But the throw time has dropped substantially. Pressures, they're down as well, despite the blitz being high. I'll get into that. And then Allen's run percentage is a nosedive from what it's been in the past. And remember, a percent here or two there is a big deal when you're talking about hundreds of plays. It doesn't seem, you figure 10%, 20%. It can in certain categories, but in the stuff that you have here, a few percent either way is a big deal. And when you see it around 3 or 4% or 5%, it's massive. So currently, Allen's 17-2 with 2,000. Touchdowns are down, but those interceptions and a lot of other things I'll discuss about later is down. But you could see Allen has been moved from being the primary driver of this team. It's moved to the offensive line, handing it off to the running backs, and the quick throws means it's getting out a little bit quicker, and so you're allowing the playmakers or the receivers to do their thing. And I did a couple of years ago. Some of you might not know because I kind of stopped doing Bills coverage because of my health. I'm healthy again. I talked about this being the right offense for you about 3 years ago, almost 4. And I showed that when you look at Allen, if he's in over that 65% of total offensive output, like between the rush and the pass, gets diminishing returns. But when you start getting under that 65%, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's around like 55, 65. His production, the value of it, the leverage of it goes up, and he's been in that sweet spot most of the season. And this is a game you're going to be without Coleman. Cooper's a little dinged up. He's getting his feel for the game. But this is a game where you're going to not want him to be everything. And when you look at the matchups, and again, I say it's your offensive line versus their D front, their O-line versus your D front as the primary drivers. There's a lot of other things that are going to tie into it, but I think this is the main battleground. And so you can see right here, this is their offensive line in the purple. And it's PFF grades. Don't write checks about it. Exactly the same. But it's a rough area to start with. These guys are very, very good. I watched them move my Dolphins offensive line. Had Zach Sealand, I believe, he wasn't in that game. No, he wasn't in that game, actually. But we had Campbell there and a bunch of other guys. We were blitzing like a ton, and they were still able to move us around, especially Nelson. We had to overcommit to maintain this, and it kind of maintain control of the line of scrimmage. And we lost that battle because we ultimately lost the game. But both bookends are tough. Tucker's a little bit of the weak point. It looks like Bortolini, their rookie, stepping in for their starter. What's his name? I can't remember his name. He's really good. Kelly. He's a really good center. But this guy Bortolini's a rookie. He's playing really well. That might be an area for you to attack. But Nelson is big. He's 330. He moves guys. And, your defense, they're ranked currently 15th in rush defense, giving 123 a game. Your pass defense is 16th, 225 a game. But the flip side, for them, they're 31st in run defense, 150 a game, which is amazing. It's only 27 yards difference. And in the past, they're 26 at 250. Is a small little bit of margin here. But the one thing you guys share on defense, because I don't think your defense is as good as it's been in the past. There's talent been pulled out. And they're coming together because the calls are good. The DCs are good. The units working together are good. And it's backed by an offense that's running a football. But they're only allowing 21 points a game, 12th best, and you're 19 points at 8th best. So you can see there's just a little bit here, a little bit there is going to go a long way. But for both these defenses, running that football is going to be critical. Time of possession, reps off the field so you can stay fresh. But when you look again at that offensive line, it is a tough offensive line. I like your defensive front, especially Rousseau, getting after the quarterback, but I'm not so much because they're a little bit smaller. Daquan is bigger, but he's older. He just doesn't feel like he was pre-injury. He was on a dominating role pre-injury. Just doesn't feel the same. Oliver's a little bit smaller. He can get moved out. Vaughn is finding his way back. Your edge guys, the backups, not bad. Pass rush, not so much run stop. Rousseau is a stud. So it's going to be very interesting to see how you call up more blitzes this week, what happens. But it's the linebackers. I like your linebackers, but they're not necessarily playing super great. Bernard had a better season last year. He's having some troubles, I think maybe injuries or something. Williams, so it's going to fall a little bit on those safeties to come bail them out. But then Flacco's good enough to get over the top. But they're not going to have their Pittman, the receiver, the top receiver, and that's a little balance that's going to kind of go your way. I still think they can be able to attack some things on that play action. They like to work a lot on the play action, and Flacco's good at that. But it's going to come down to this run game. How does that front match up to your defensive front and linebackers, and how much help from the safety group is going to get called in? I don't know. It's going to be a very... there's wild cards, and I think there's two wild cards. One of the wild cards is on your favor. I think is a bigger wild card. Ultimately, I think you're going to win. But if you look also at their front, you'll see... I didn't put any purple boxes around your offensive line. I like your offensive line. They're very coherent because they've been playing together a lot. I'm not super high on their talent. They're not saying they're not talented. But their front isn't too bad. When we played them, they didn't have Buckner, who's a big deal. They kind of got bigger ends, so they're not easily bulled out. They're about 265 apiece. I think they can kind of match up with you, but I was so surprised when they played us. They had a lot of 3 linebackers, and their linebackers aren't good. And so you guys at 5, being able to get alignment to the next level on these linebackers and be able to trap them and to beat them, they're going to be very exposed. They're not very good. The safeties are decent. They got good corners, and that's going to kind of slow you down even though Cooper's there. But again, the play action for you guys and Allen buying time to get that stuff open to work, but it's about attacking those linebackers, getting that inside run. We saw Brady. I think he's done a really good job. The only question I have is what happens when that inside run game gets stymied. It seems like the offense and Brady kind of get a little flustered and not really certain what to do. I don't think you'll have a problem this week. That's something I want to see going forward. But definitely the run game is going to set everything up for you guys. But the one little difference between your offensive front, the blocking unit, and theirs, they've got 2 tight ends, and it's one of their wild cards. It's a lesser wild card for me than what you guys can play on the table. They got Ogletree, 6'5", 260, and then Mo Cox, 6'5", 267, and they can bring those doubles in there, tight ends, and they can line them up with their front, and that is very formidable. And they're going to be able to move guys. I think that you're going to be able to limit the points. You play, bend but don't break. Maybe they get the field goals and you come back and score. But that is a big wild card for them. Their offensive line finally looks like healthy aside from Kelly. Bortolini, I think, is a good player so far, although, like I said, he could get exposed. So I do give the edge of the front to them, being able to move bodies over you guys by a smaller margin. Not a huge margin, but a smaller margin, but a margin nonetheless. But the biggest wild card is Allen. And if you go back, you see his run production has dropped. And I've said that too is a huge, huge thing for this guy. You can't be a quarterback that lasts a long time if you're getting the snot beat out of you week in and week out, year after year. But this is a game where I could see Allen having because your offensive front will be able to work, and even with a Knox or maybe Kincaid doubling or whatever, getting one of those linemen and getting to the second level. But then Allen's going to be able to find spaces. These linebackers are not that big. He's going to be able to get some big yards off that. And I think Allen, passing and running, I know it's kind of like common, yeah, but he's been kind of quiet in a little bit of areas, although last week he had a big run taken away by those holds, which I don't think it was a hold. But this is a week where I think you see kind of some more vintage Allen, where he puts his body a little bit more on the line. And he's going to really take advantage of these linebackers. And that wild card, I think, is going to swing this A and B gap, this run attack. I like Davis. I like Cook. I think he got a really good running back group. They got Taylor, who's still coming. He's not something with him. He's not what he used to be. He's coming off injuries. He still can do some stuff because they create holes, and he can give a little bit extra. But Allen, I think, is the big swing for you guys. So overall, I think this could be a closer game because they're going to, unless they go totally off script, a lot of running the football. You're going to run the football a lot, and this game's going to move very, very fast. I think you get it by 7, maybe 10. But I don't think it's going to, unless you guys come out ultra hot, I don't think it's going to be like an early blowout. Because you guys, at the first quarter, usually you're kind of up in the air, and then you start doing some good coaching and get adjustments in that second quarter, and then starts taking off from there. So I'm saying 10-point win. This is a must win. I think that you got to also get through this game quick so you're fresh and no major injuries going against KC. You're home, which is a big deal. So ultimately, I do think you win. I think this will be a little bit tighter than maybe you anticipate. Early goings, it could be dangerous if you get sloppy. It could be dangerous if you get a little too cute. They're a resilient team. And Flacco, I think, gives them that resilience because he is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He is a veteran. And that offensive line is probably the best unit on the field on both sides of the field. Ultimately, I think your team's better and you'll win. So that's what I got for you guys. I'm going to get back to this larger analysis of Allen and the offensive framework around him and how he's responding after I do a coverage for you guys post-game. I'm going to be covering more teams. But you guys have been so nice to me and so supportive, even supportive when my team loses. So I'm going to make sure you guys are officially back in the thing. I got OCD, and so I got to really feel like I'm certain about what I'm saying before I do it. I'm back in that groove for you guys. Anyway, I got to say good luck this week. It's fair, but I really, really mean good luck next week. Got to say, be well. Talk to you soon. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.